In a post-apocalyptic world, Anne is a lone survivor on her farm with her dog. She often travels to a nearby rundown town for supplies, covering herself in a protective suit and carrying an oxygen tank to avoid contaminated air. Her farm sits in a valley, one spot apparently untouched by radiation, so she has to walk a long way to town, but the trip is worth it for safety. After each trip, she washes thoroughly. At night, her dog sleeps in her bed to keep her company. Anne's days are usually quiet. She spends her time caring for the animals, fixing fences, and checking the traps she set in the forest. Her dog helps by sniffing out rabbits to hunt. One day, Anne spots an abandoned vehicle on the road and decides to check it out. Suddenly, her dog starts barking, alerting her to someone nearby. They hide in tall grass as a man in a protective suit approaches the wagon and then moves on. Surprised to see another person alive, Anne quietly follows him. The man scans the area with a handheld device and confirms it's radiation-free. He removes his helmet, breathes in the fresh air, and cries out in relief as he tears off his suit. Anne emerges and finds the man, John, washing under a waterfall. Startled, she rushes to warn him, but with her gun drawn, John mistakes her for a threat. He fires a warning shot into the air and demands to know where his companions are. Anne raises her hands and shouts back that the water is contaminated. Terrified, John dashes to his wagon, scans himself, and realizes the water was radioactive. He starts vomiting. Panicked, he grabs a syringe and begs Anne to give him the injection. John's panicked pleading gives Anne pause, but he quickly tosses his gun aside and swears he won't hurt her. She injects him with the medicine and offers to take him back to her farm. John says he'll need the shots every day and asks her to burn his contaminated clothes. He wraps himself in a blanket and follows Anne home, even asking that she burn his body if he doesn't survive. At the farm, Anne washes John thoroughly with clean water. He's too weak to move on his own, so she carries him inside and helps him onto her bed. The next morning, Anne returns to where John left his wagon and gathers his belongings. Among them, she finds some personal items, including photographs of John with a woman. Over the next several days, Anne nurses John back to health. She checks his temperature regularly, feeds him nourishing meals, and gives him his daily injections. Nights are restless. Anne lies awake listening to John shivering in fever. She spends hours gently pressing damp cloths to his skin to cool him. One night, she finally dozes off at his side. In the morning, she quietly thanks a higher power and prays for his recovery. Later that day, she goes to the chapel and plays the organ, using the music as part of her prayers. As John grows stronger, he eventually gets out of bed, though Anne still has to help him walk. One morning while they work outside, Anne explains her backstory. Her father always believed their farm in the valley would be safe if disaster struck. She tells John that her family once left to find other survivors and never came back. John can't understand why this valley is untouched by radiation, and he grows frustrated by Anne's inability to fully explain. Anne gently changes the subject by giving him a comforting hug. The next morning, John notices Anne working the fields by hand. Curious, he grabs an old farming manual from the house and flips through it. He joins her in the field, although he's still too weak to do much. Anne mentions the tractor is out of gas and the water pumps have no power. John explains how to run the pumps manually, and Anne rushes off to the old gas station in town. When she returns with a can of fuel, she's thrilled. John watches through his rifle's scope as Anne finally drives the tractor out into the field. Moments later, Anne happily works the land while the dog excitedly runs alongside the tractor. That evening, John quietly watches Anne pray over their dinner. Afterwards, he opens up about his past. He tells her he survived because he had been working in a government research bunker, but he eventually left because it felt like a prison, and he yearned for a real life. Anne notices the photo of the woman in John's belongings and asks if she's his wife. John shakes his head. The woman isn't his wife. Later that night, Anne deliberately leaves her bedroom door open. John notices her bare legs under the blanket, but he quietly goes to his own room to sleep. The next day, Anne heads to the pond to fish and then takes a swim in the warm water. John sits on the bank watching, and the two exchange shy smiles under the sun. Afterwards, they cook the fish over an open fire. While they eat, Anne explains that the pond is fed by the same underground water source as their well. She notes that the pond will freeze in winter and recalls how last winter was especially hard when their house's generator broke down. When they return to the barn, John inspects the generator and finds the engine completely fried. Anne immediately blames herself for plugging in a DVD player. Suddenly, Anne jokingly mentions an old-school project with a potato battery, and John's eyes light up with an idea. They head back to the waterfall to check it out. The falls are large enough for a water wheel to power the generator, but building it would need a lot of wood. John points out that the only large wooden structure left is the old chapel. He suggests taking it apart for lumber. Anne is horrified. She says her father built the chapel for Sunday services and believes it's been protecting the valley. John argues that maybe her father, or even God, left it standing for them. Anne still refuses to tear it down. That night, Anne's dog suddenly starts barking at the front door for no apparent reason. The next morning, Anne goes about her usual chores while John works on repairing the old machinery. Later, John drives to the roadside market to get supplies. When Anne catches up with him there, she finds John completely drunk. He's stumbling around the shop, tossing boxes and joking that he's figured out all of Anne's tastes by seeing which food she's run out of and which ones she hasn't touched. That night, Anne helps John toward the bedroom. Suddenly, he snaps and shoves her against a wall, yelling that he doesn't need someone looking after him all the time. Anne is terrified and runs to her room. The following morning, John sheepishly goes out to get eggs from the coop but finds it empty. He returns inside and apologizes to Anne for his behavior. Sometime later, Anne goes to the chapel to play the organ again. As she plays, she feels like someone is watching her from outside. When she finishes and steps out, whoever it was has already slipped away. Anne assumes it was John and hurries back to the farmhouse to tell him he's welcome to listen. John looks surprised and tells her he hasn't been near the chapel at all. That evening, John sets up a special dinner and even pours a bottle of wine. They slow dance together in the living room. The mood becomes romantic and they share a kiss. But just before it gets more intimate, John gently pulls back. He thanks Anne for dinner and heads to bed. A short time later, he comes back to Anne's door. Anne playfully starts to take off her dress, but John quickly asks her to cover back up. She's hurt and asks if she did something wrong. John reassures her that he's definitely attracted to her, but says moving too fast could complicate things. They need a little more time. The next morning, Anne nervously offers John the chapel if he wants it, but he declines again, saying he doesn't want to upset her after last night. While Anne is checking the traps one day, her dog suddenly runs barking up a nearby hill. Anne follows and finds a stranger, a man named Caleb. He's disheveled and frightened, but he swears he means no harm. He just needs some water. Anne brings Caleb back to the farm. John reaches for his rifle, but Anne quickly stops him. John uses his detector on Caleb, who admits he took the eggs from the chicken coop. He says he was too afraid to ask for help. He learned long ago that people can be hostile. Caleb explains he survived the incident because he was a mine worker and was deep underground when it happened. His co-workers later went out looking for their families but never returned. Caleb says he plans to keep traveling south and asks if he can stay the night. He promises to leave in the morning. John's scanner shows a trace of radiation on Caleb's clothes. Caleb admits he's been feeling weak and has vomited a few times already. John agrees to let him stay a few days until he recovers. Caleb starts to set up a small tent outside, but Anne insists he sleep inside with them instead. At lunch, Caleb prays quietly with Anne and laughs that it's strange he's still alive. They exchange travel stories. John shares his own story. Once he found a teenage boy who had stolen food from his wagon and was dying of radiation sickness, begging John to end his suffering. John refused and left him by the roadside to die. Caleb then tells about the mine. When the disaster hit, one miner panicked and tried to open the mine door, but the others refused because they feared radiation. Trapped, the man snapped and killed most of the crew before he died of radiation himself. Anne quietly offers Caleb her sympathies for his losses, tears in her eyes, and John immediately bristles, hurt that Anne never showed the same care to him when he was suffering. Later, after Anne shows Caleb around the house, John corners her and scolds her for being so friendly with a stranger. Anne snaps back, explaining how hard it's been losing her family and surviving alone. Later, John and Caleb head out on a hunting trip in the woods. As they walk, they talk about the radio broadcasts of a survivor community rumored to exist far to the south. Caleb says he plans to find that community, but John doubts anyone is really out there anymore. Suddenly, a wild turkey appears. Caleb cracks a grin and jokingly says whoever shoots the turkey first gets Anne. John is taken aback, but Caleb laughs it off as a joke. The two chase the turkey through the trees. As they run, John explains his water wheel idea and why they haven't built it yet. In the end, John manages to shoot and kill the turkey. That night, the three cook the turkey for dinner. During the meal, Caleb brings up the water wheel idea again, which makes Anne and John uncomfortable. They wonder about other sources of wood, but realize they have no proper tools to cut down trees, and the only intact buildings nearby aren't made of wood. Caleb points out that the chapel is their only source of lumber. Reluctantly, Anne agrees. The next day, the trio carefully dismantles the old church for building materials. As they work, Caleb and Anne keep exchanging shy glances at each other. Over the next few days, they assemble the wheel under John's direction, but John grows irritated when he notices how much Caleb and Anne are flirting. They also drive around collecting old utility cables from the roadside to use as wiring. Later, Anne wanders among the ruins of the chapel, looking upset. Caleb finds her and gently asks if she'd like to take a walk out in the fields. As they stroll, Caleb opens up about his past. His father had tried to become a preacher once, but ended up choosing women and alcohol instead. Caleb himself drifted away from church for many years, but he never lost his faith. He tells Anne he believes their faith is what has protected the valley, and that she and he have been chosen to help rebuild something new. Anne is relieved to finally find someone who understands her, since John never talks about faith. When they return to the farm, John watches them from a distance with with clear jealousy. That night, John surprises Anne by suggesting that maybe she should be with Caleb. He understands her in a way John does not. Anne is hurt and starts to cry, confused by his sudden change of heart. John insists it's fine for her to explore her feelings, even making an awkward joke about the two of you white people being together, which only confuses Anne more. Over the next several days, the three continue working on the wheel. One afternoon, to install the first half, Caleb suits up and wades into the contaminated water at the waterfall. His risky move pays off, and they make huge progress on the assembly. That night, they celebrate their success with wine, music, and even a few cards. They laugh and splash around, diving into the pond and playing a hide-and-seek game with a bottle. John, however, feels like a third wheel as he watches Anne and Caleb share jokes and smiles. On the drive back home, John suddenly confesses that he loves Anne. Anne is silent. At the house, she crawls into bed next to John, but John is so drunk and exhausted that he instantly falls into a deep sleep. Anne eventually slips away to Caleb's room late that night. The two of them give in to the chemistry between them and have sex in the bathroom. The next morning at breakfast, Caleb gently runs his hand through Anne's hair in front of John. Anne immediately feels uncomfortable and quietly leaves the table. John and Caleb stay behind to finish clearing the dishes, but they still talk about Anne. Caleb asks John if he regrets having him around with Anne, saying he could leave and never come back. John firmly denies it, insisting he wants to finish the wheel with Caleb's help. In the afternoon, Caleb suits up one more time to help John finish the project. They carefully install the final pieces of the wheel, and finally, the wheel starts turning. As Caleb climbs back up the bank after fastening a rope, he suddenly slips on the wet rocks. John, who is holding the safety rope, reacts instantly and keeps Caleb from falling. Caleb reaches safety but slips a second time on the shore. John yanks on the rope at the last second, preventing him from falling again. The two of them exchange a serious look, but the crisis passes. After a while, John returns to the farm. Anne comes to him and starts to apologize for what happened the night before. John stops her gently. He has news. Caleb is gone. He explains that earlier Caleb quietly packed his things and headed south to look for the rumored community. Anne refuses to believe it. She runs outside calling Caleb's name, searching the farm and nearby fields, but he is nowhere to be found. John finishes connecting the final wires, and at last the farm's lights and pumps come to life. They have electricity again. When Anne returns, she sees that John has even moved the chapel organ into the barn so she can play it. She sits down and plays a gentle tune on the organ as John listens happily from the doorway. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.